So, good day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Fireside Chat here for Startup Guy in Luxembourg with Maude Baudier from Smatchy.app. And we will see with Maude how she developed her path, her entrepreneurial journey on building Smatchy and even more. But before, a few housekeeping notes about Startup Grind. Startup Grind, we take the educative angle. This means we give it to ourselves as a mission to give companies everywhere in the world the education and opportunities they need to build, grow, and scale their companies. Our values, which we give ourselves, are that we believe in making friends, not contacts. We believe in giving first, not taking. And we believe in helping others before helping ourselves. So now, without further ado, welcome, Maude.
Well, thank you very much.
Could you just, to start kick off, give us in a nutshell, really in a nutshell, what is Smatchy? Really in a nutshell, in a few minutes, in a few words.
Smatchy is a sport app to find sport buddy nearby your location and with your level and your practice.
Great, thank you. But that is Smatchy today. But how Maude came to develop Smatchy? What gave you the idea, or what was the incentive to launching the venture of Smatchy?
That's kind of a long path, but to make it short, I started my career working in several. Yeah, I worked in really several fields, in luxury, in business development, in startups, big groups, and I wanted to become an entrepreneur into a field where I would feel that I have something to bring, and sport was kind of obvious for me because I always practiced sport in my life. And I started with something that was about running and cycling and triathlon because I was practicing those sports as an adult. And this led to creating a community of women because I realized that on some specific sports, women are less represented. And it was important to give them space to express themselves, to give the opportunity also to develop yourself through the practice of a sport. And it's not only physical, it's also mentally. You develop yourself really on really specific aspects and topics. And this gave me the impression, the hint that practicing sports was not only about performance, was not only about going further in your practice, going further in terms of being the best version of yourself, but also encountering people. And when I started thinking about this, I was like, but there's no real solution if I want to encounter someone practicing sport that will have exactly the same wish, expectation that I have. And that's how Smatchy is born. It's to respond to this need for people to meet and greet, to find sport buddies, to find it easily, because in a society where we are overconnected, finally, that's maybe the environment where we have the less connection, real connection. And that's in a way to say, okay, we have created a digital tool to help you find and encounter people in real life. You will go outside, play tennis, go running, do cycling. You will really meet people, and that will bring to so much opportunities, personally, professionally, because we all know that this is how we go further in life. It's by making connections.
That's great. This means there was the need, but how did you go about the need? There's one thing to have the need, the urge for it, but how did you go about it in saying, okay, this is the way to go? Was it a little bit trial and error? Tell us a little bit more about, okay, need, and then so what?
Yeah. That's where I'm a little bit lucky because, as I said, I was at the head of a collective of a community called Les Bornées, which is basically aiming to promote women on cycling and triathlon. And when I had the idea first, I reached out to them. What do you need? If we create an app, what will be the functionalities you would like to see? Why don't you connect with people? Why do you connect with people? So we kind of ask them marketing and research questions to really better understand them and to be sure that we will go in the right direction, even though with this, it was on really peculiar and specific topic, which was cycling and triathlon. So it was dedicated to outdoor sports and endurance outdoor sports. So when we aim to develop the app on also tennis, paddle, golf, we always encounter people, we ask them questions and we get feedbacks, and those feedbacks help us implement the best functionalities in the app. So it's kind of A/B testing plus research plus also giving the voice to the users.
All right, but okay, you said you had this community, and did you launch with this community only to develop the needs? And on the one hand, on the other hand, why an app? What makes you say, okay, an app is the way to go?
We started with them, obviously, because it was a huge community, a large community of people. So it's kind of silly not to start with those people and to get feedbacks. That's the obvious choice. After that, we took 4 months to gather all feedbacks on the app and to improve it. And the real launch was kind of approximately between 6 and 8 months after the first launch on the stores, where we iterate and where we ask a lot of questions to users to be sure that we'll go in the right direction. So, and it's still the case. In fact, if I have to be honest, even though the app is alive on stores, even though we have what you can call a B2 of the app, because we've developed new features and all this kind of stuff, it's still on trial. It's still something that we make evolve, because I don't think that in our society nowadays, we can really stop in terms of technology and keep up a product that is such an important and vital product to connect people and to be sure that we connect the right way. The same state it has been built, the first version. So we have to iterate, we have to update, we have to change it. And that's still not finished. And that I'm not even sure that it will be finished one day, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about it. On the other hand, okay, you had the urge, you did the need research in order to find some friendly potential users, or also those who had the same need, the same urge. But as it's a technical solution, how did you go about in implementing, developing the technical solution? I mean, did you, between quotation mark, code yourself, or did you have partners or co-founders? How did you go about that?
That's maybe the struggling part, because that's the only thing I don't know how to do. I'm not a coder. I can do all the other jobs, so I'm kind of everything except the tech. So I had to find partners, people that helped me develop the first version, which was difficult because in our society, not everybody is willing to work for equity. People are more willing to work for money, and when you're in our current environment in terms of investment and financial aspects, there's really low number of people investing in a BF. They want a POC, they want first figures, they want income. So when you arrive with an idea and you say, okay, I need money to recruit, they say, do your project and then maybe we'll give you money. And then you go back to the developer and you say, okay, so I can give you equity because I don't have money. And they say, no, I want money, I don't want equity. So you're just a little bit blocked. So I found people that were willing to help me on like side projects. So they were not full-time. And after 2 years of working on the project and developing, I am currently in the process of integrating a CTO that will be for equity first and then obviously recruited. But that's really a long path. It's not still the same. It's not finished. There's always stuff to build on this aspect because tech is important and we need to partner with the right people. So we are currently building this tech environment with the CTO I've integrated. But that's a tough challenge. And I think something that a lot of founders struggle with when they do not have this tech skills. And a lot of people told me, like, do something no code. But the problem with no code, on my personal opinion, and that's my personal opinion, is that you build up something to be broken in a year or two, and that needs to be rebuilt. And there were a lot of limits in terms of functionalities, technological aspects with no code that I was not really fond of, because I really wanted to develop a first version of the app that will work, that will go in the right direction, that will have some really competitive aspects. If it's to do something average or low quality, to rebuild it a year after with larger budgets, I mean, I wanted to do something better.
Yeah, that's great, because you always have these, as you said, these different parts. Either you do in order to showcase, in order to get the traction, and then to fine tune it, or you go and say, okay, I built the good basis, and then I go further. Okay, that's one thing. You have this technical part. We had the urge. We had the friendly users, the confrères, the peers who had the same stuff. You found a way to get a product, a solution to them, and that's one thing. And how did you go? When and how did you think about the financial side of revenue streams and so on, and subscription? When did that come, and which approaches did you take and eventually adapted?
That's why I'm a little bit off board compared to other founders, because I am well aware of the major concepts that worked in the past 10 to 20 years, were built in a way that they first collect community, first collect data, and then look up for the business model. So I basically choose this option. I wanted to create a product, to create a community, to create traction, to have people on board, to monetize it in a second step. But that's completely off market compared to what is done in France, for example, because I'm French based. This is more like American way to think. And that's also why on your cell phone, currently you have Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all the kind of platforms that were built in a way that you do not pay, but they use your data in terms of privacy and all this kind of stuff. And that's how they make money. And they are really good and strong at it. Strava also, for example, in the sport industry has been built this way. They've lost money for years before making revenues. So I have this approach, even though it's on contrary of behalf of the investors in France, and they basically do not understand what we are doing and how we are building it. And now we are starting to work on a business model, but it's been 2 years. We've been exchanging a lot with both B2C customers and B2B customers to really go the right direction, not take the wrong path and lose time, money, and energy on something that will not bring something reliable for the future. So I am starting working on it with the CTO. We are iterating on it, and maybe the final solution will be a little bit different from what I'm doing right now, but we have already made a little bit of market analysis, and we kind of know what could work and what will not work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And on the one hand, did you project yourself saying, okay, as you said, first I want to make sure that the offering is the right one, that the way we do it is the right one. I mean, the tool, the product we have is the right one. And as you were touching a little bit of B2C, B2B, and so on, don't you think that will come faster than you were expecting, that you have to deal with this, let's call it revenue stream part, business part, and also on the one hand, you started with having or identifying a need yourself, one person, and how are you? Is Smatchy now a team, or do you foresee to have a team? What are your ideas about it a little bit?
So regarding the team, obviously, we are building the project in a way that it can develop, that we can recruit, that we can get people on board, that will not only be equity based, that will be also paid for the jobs they do. That's obviously an objective for us, and that's also why we are in the fundraising process, and you're aware of it. But it's not only that, it's also to be sure that we can deliver the most perfect service and experience to users. So the more we have experiment people on really specific topics and subjects where they are needed for the community and by the clients, the mirror we will be in terms of production and in terms of responding to their needs. And regarding your second subject on bringing up some incomes and this coming a little bit faster than we thought, I'm convinced that there's a market on the topics that we are addressing, because I did not explain it, but basically Smatchy is built up for users in terms of B2C. You can encounter someone. So let's say that you want to do running this weekend. You can drop a session and someone can join you this weekend while you're running. I have been doing and conducting a lot of surveys over B2C clients. They are not willing to pay for those kind of services. They want it to be free. They want the app to be free. And I've done like several tests on several functionalities that could be kind of premium. Honestly, it's not long-term in perspective. And I don't think that there's for the moment a freemium model that will be suitable. Maybe in the future, maybe there will be some technology brought by AI and all this kind of stuff that could, after that word, be integrated and could be paid by the user, but not for the moment. So we decided to go on a business model that is called to every social networks and every social platform. We gather up data that could be interesting for brands to use, but not only for brands that are in the sport industry, because basically what people think is that we are going to contact Nike, Decathlon, obvious fact, like you're in the sport industry, you're going to contact sports companies. Yes, we will. That's silly not to do. But we want also to integrate a platform where we can tackle markets such as healthcare, for example, insurances, maybe beauty, because there are some needs. When you're outside, you put sunscreen. You you are eating, you are taking a pizza after your running session. You're not only doing sport, it's a whole lifestyle and ecosystem we can build. So we are working on creating a platform for B2B, using B2C data so that they can improve their marketing campaign, communication campaign, their targeting, their conversion rates by having the right data at the right momentum for the right location, right people. So that's basically what we do. And I am convinced that there's a market over there, because brands in general raised their digital budgets by 20 to 45% based on their sectors in the past 10 years. So they are investing in digital and they want qualitative data.
You touched up, and it makes more sense now, but you touch up in sports and then lifestyle, wellness, well-being, and so on, health in general. But how do you are you projecting yourself in order to see how you're approaching them? I mean, regarding the different verticals, do you say we start with this vertical and eventually that one, and then if we have enough data and it proves that we should to go with this vertical, we take that vertical? How are you approaching that one?
It's more data collection based. Based on the data we will be able to collect with the users, we will be able to create cohort that is kind of a cluster of customers look like, and we will be able after to offer this to companies. So I'm going to give you an example that's maybe the easiest one, but it's working. Let's say that you have this runner target, and you know that those runners do 1 or 2 marathons per year. And you can see in their objectives that their marathon are either France-based or international. you do not consume the same way if you're French based or if you're international. So you will not have the same needs. So we know that there's like a travel expectation, for example, for the internationals. They're going to have to take the train, the plane. They're going to have to rent a place. So we can collaborate with Airbnb, for example. That's maybe so silly, but it's logical in the end. You have something to do, or we can collaborate with Booking. So based on the information we have, we can interpret stuff. We can make assumptions that are super logical and easy to make, but interesting for the companies, because I will know that this cluster of people prepare a marathon for April abroad. So they are looking for a solution to rent something for April. So it's a really super interesting and qualitative data. And for everybody, it's win-win, because if you go see the final user and say, I give you a 15% discount for your booking reservation, for your marathon, if you book an accommodation, they're going to say, yeah, I want 15% discount. And the company is going to say, yeah, I'm super interesting because I get some new leads. So it's really win-win, and we want to build up this way.
Yeah, we talked about the verticals and how you were approaching, and now geographically speaking, you started with a community, and you also said, okay, you want to grow via organically and also via social media and so on. Do you have some geographical go? Say, okay, it happens as it happens. If we see the leads coming, okay, we are now in France, and then we communicate in French, for example, and then we get some people in Belgium, Luxembourg, and eventually French-speaking Canada. We go there. Or do you say, okay, no, we want directly go global, I mean, without any distinction? How are you approaching this geographic span, let's call it like that?
That's a really brand new subject, because we just launched this weekend the English version of the app, available worldwide. So that's brand new for me. We have a double strategy. We open the map. So the idea is to say, let's see, maybe there will be a cluster in a place that we are not expecting. But at the same time, we kind of force our chance, because you have also to be sure that you're going in the right direction in terms of targeting a specific market. And there are some markets we are interested onto. The US market, obviously, super interesting, because that's a culture of sport. There's a huge market with that, because there are already a lot of people. Obviously, that's a huge territory. But in the same end, there's the Indian market that is often forgotten and is interesting in terms of number of users, growing market, the fact that they also have a growing interest into health, and doing sport and taking care of themselves. So going also abroad to travel to visit some stuff. So we have identified places. We are putting a little bit of our energy onto it with some specific marketing campaigns. But at the same time, we are open to see a cluster created in a really specific place, just because there's someone fond of running and he has a community and he uses the app, and then we help him to develop his community, to have partners, to embed a little bit the project.
That's one side, but on the other side, okay, you had the community to start with. I mean, you were talking about in order to have the needs and so on. How was the onboarding process also for other users? Was it as smooth as you expected, or was it a little bit okay? Let's call it a little bit tricky with some stepstones in the way.
We try to make it smooth.
Yeah. And if there were stepstones, what were the stepstones which made a little bit where you said, oops, that we haven't foreseen, and so on?
We try to make the onboarding the smoother possible, but obviously there are some stuff that we made wrong the first version, so we try to improve it right now. Where we are struggling, it's more in terms of changing the habits of people. Currently, people use Facebook and WhatsApp. That's the two main platforms they use to gather up and to find sport buddies, which are not adapted because they do not have an algorithm to help you find the right person. Location is not exact on some specific aspect. You cannot register. It's complicated. It's not made for that, obviously. But it's a force of habit. They are on this platform for years. It's been years that they use WhatsApp. It's been years that they have a Facebook account. So even though you arrive with the right solution, you have to convince them that it's more adapted to their needs and they must change their habits. And that's the strongest and most difficult part in human being because we are animals based on habits. If you have the habit of taking a coffee first thing done before you wake up, you will have your coffee and you will not be nice if you don't have your coffee. We are force of habits and that's how we work. So that's where we have a lot of efforts to do to make them understand that it's not only having a new app on your iPhone or your Android and just downloading something new. It's creating a new habit that will help you be a better version of yourself, finding new partners, and simplify in some way what you used to do in another platform.
Okay. Now looking a little bit back. Let's look back first a little bit. If you look at the journey you did until now, what would be the things or the actions or what you did, if any, where you would say, but with hindsight, I would have done it differently, if there are any?
There are, obviously. That's a really, really difficult question because there are many of them. I would have looked for a CTO sooner because I am struggling in front of market environment where they do not believe in solo founders and it's more seen as an obstacle than a possibility. And I think it would have helped in some ways in front of investors, in front of partners, to see that I'm not alone managing the project, and that if I get tackled by a bus, there will be someone to deal with the project and the responsibilities, because that's always what people say, like, if a bus eats you, well, we'll find a solution. I guess my shareholders will not let the project die. And the second thing I would change in terms of operational aspects will be to involve sooner clusters of people that are super willing to help, because there are those kind of people around you. It could be, for my part, for example, I give some class in business schools. And I have students and they are fond of the project because when you say what you do, they are always like, oh, that's so cool what you do. And I was a little bit late on involving them to help the growth, to help develop abroad of the, because they are international students, so they have people around the countries. So I would have used this to leverage a little bit faster, but I'm doing it right now. And obviously you always learn from your mistakes, and the objective is to do the better version after that. So
Great, thank you. Now looking a little bit forward, what do you see as your next steps, or what do you see as the evolution? What are you aiming at as next steps, or let's say in the medium long term? What do you foresee to happen?
Medium terms, I would love to see the app on targeting a certain, reaching a certain number of users. So it's 100,000 users before the end of the year. And at the same time, developing this B2B platform we talked about, that is for me mandatory to see the project expand, to really respond to people's needs. And that's all 2025 objective, to have our first clients, to develop our first version of the platform. In a longer term, it's to be the platform used wherever you go. So you go in the US, you go for a business trip in New York, you're on holidays, I don't know, in Bali, you will have the platform on your cell phone and you can encounter people from foreign countries. And as silly as it can seem, for me, it's really moving forward in terms of opening to the world, opening to the fact that there are other communities living differently and that you can exchange and that you can collaborate. So that's more a social aspect of the app, but that will be kind of an accomplishment for me because it means that you really connect outside of gender, outside of the age, outside of all the stuff that sometimes put a barrier between you and me, and that's silly.
Okay, and then the last, as we are coming close to the end, the last question generally is, if you would have a glass ball to see the future, and you would have a magic wand, and with this magic wand you tick the glass ball, and you could see the future you would like to see. Not realistic and so on. What would be the future there and what you would like to see?
Oh, there are some stepstones in the future that I would like to see. It will be that we get funded because that's the keystone of expanding the project, recruiting and all this kind of stuff. That will lead obviously to the fact that the app is on everybody's cell phone the same way that Facebook is. I would like to be the Facebook for sport with maybe a more social and greater aspects based on the value I share, because I'm strongly convinced that sport can bring a lot to society, and that it's not only a matter of burning calories to have the better body for summer. It's a matter of health. It's a matter of mental and physical health. So for me, that will be this. Like, we get the first stepstone that helps us launch the app in a way that it becomes the app available on all cell phones around the world and helping people doing sports.
Great, thank you. And looking at Startup Grind, I mean, internationally in the community, is there something where you would say, their Startup Grind or anybody in the community of Startup Grind could be helpful or could be assisting to you? Is there
so
something?
Many. The first thing is to download the app. I mean, just by downloading, it's helping because we get feedbacks. We get people that are willing maybe to tell us this functionality is missing, or you need to do that. So that's the first step. Whatever age, whatever practice, it's really interesting for us. I would say that the second step is based on community. If you're a runner, if you're a cyclist, if you're a tennis person, a golf person, whatever, and you have a community of people that you do sport with, stop using WhatsApp, stop using Facebook, start using Smatchy. That's the best way to help and to be participative on the project. And finally, but that's like the graal, if I can say it this way, it's that I told you that we are fundraising, and that's one of the points we are struggling. So if someone gets any opportunity, wish to know a little bit more, I will be more willing to give information insight and get them on board, because I am okay to get people on board and open my capital. That's part of the game, and I am really looking forward it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing, and looking forward to the development and maybe in a few years to have you here on board again. Thank you very much.